Imagine a world long before our own, tens of thousands of years before cities, books, or kings. Another kind of human walked this earth. They weren't our direct ancestors, but our ancient neighbors, a people built for a world of ice and wind. They were the Neanderthals. Brilliant, elusive, and now vanished, yet, in a strange way, they're still here, a part of us. So, how did they disappear? And what did they leave behind for us to find? For nearly 400,000 years, an incredible span of time, Neanderthals thrived across the vast landscapes of Europe and Western Asia. They endured long, harsh winters on open, windswept plains, living alongside the imposing megafauna of the Ice Age. Their survival was a masterclass in adaptation. Their bodies were compact and incredibly robust, perfectly designed to meet the cold head-on. An adult Neanderthal might weigh around 85 kilos, with bones far denser and muscles stronger than ours. They had broad shoulders, sturdy legs, and a powerful chest, giving them the raw strength and stamina to work in punishing climates. Their entire world revolved around the hunt. They pursued large herbivores, majestic mammoths, powerful bison, and formidable woolly rhinos. Success wasn't about luck. It was about strategy. They relied on sophisticated stone tools, a stealthy approach, tight-knit group coordination, and perfect timing. This way of life demanded an intimate knowledge of the terrain and a level of cooperation that was unwavering. It was a high-risk, high-reward existence. Skeletal remains often show old, severe injuries, broken bones, deep wounds, but they also show something remarkable: signs of healing. Some individuals lived for many years with debilitating conditions, clear evidence that they were cared for by their communities. For Neanderthals, solidarity wasn't just a nice idea. It was the very foundation of survival. Every part of their physiology tells a story of adaptation to the cold. A wide, barrel-shaped rib cage and strong lungs helped them pull as much oxygen as possible from the thin, dry air. Surviving the long winters required a massive energy intake. They needed a substantial daily diet just to power their bodies and fuel their activities in the biting cold. They weren't built for marathons. Their short, solid limbs were suited for short bursts of explosive, concentrated effort. Where our ancestors, Homo sapiens, might have excelled in endurance over long distances, Neanderthals shone in those decisive, powerful moments. But to see them as just muscle and bone would be a huge mistake. They were thinkers. They planned, organized, and even imagined. On average, their brains were slightly larger than ours, with regions for vision and smell being particularly well developed. In the long polar nights, the ability to notice a subtle shape in the distance or to track a scent on the wind could mean the difference between life and death. Their faces also reflect the climate's story. That prominent, projecting nose wasn't just a distinct feature. It likely helped warm and humidify the freezing air before it reached their sensitive lungs. Even their teeth tell us about their daily lives. Patterns of wear suggest they used them as a third hand, gripping materials like leather, wood, or fiber while working with their skilled hands. And they had culture, both material and symbolic. They were masters of fire, using it for warmth, protection, and cooking. They crafted finely made stone tools, elegant in their deadly efficiency. But it goes deeper. We found red and black pigments, colored shells, and eagle talons that suggest jewelry or decoration. At times, they showed care for their dead. In certain caves, mysterious arrangements of stones still puzzle archaeologists today. Were they for ritual, for organization, or for protection? Whatever their purpose, these gestures speak of a structured mind, of connection, and of abstract ideas. They had a world beyond mere survival. Then everything began to change. Our own species, Homo sapiens, arrived in Europe. For a while, the two groups of humans coexisted, sharing a continent in flux. The climate shifted dramatically. landscapes transformed, and the resources they both relied on ebbed and flowed. Over thousands of years, the balance slowly tipped. The Neanderthal presence began to diminish, their territories shrinking. There was no single traumatic event that wiped them out. There's no single culprit. It was likely a combination of factors: unstable environments, competition with the more numerous and socially networked Homo sapiens, and perhaps different strategies for survival that worked less well in a changing world. Often in prehistory, it's a slow fade, not a sudden finale that ends a lineage. Yet their story didn't end with their disappearance, because before they faded from the world, they met us. There were encounters, interactions, and children born from both groups. Those children carried a mixed heritage forward, a legacy passed down through countless generations. Today, most human populations outside of Africa carry between 1 and 3% Neanderthal DNA. This ancient inheritance is not just a scientific curiosity. It quietly influences aspects of our biology, our skin, our hair, our immune systems, and even how some of us respond to our environment. Like any legacy, it carries both strengths and vulnerabilities. So, in the end, they are not entirely gone. They persist silently within our very cells. When we try to picture them, let's push aside the old, brutish stereotypes. Let's see them for who they truly were: a sophisticated and resilient type of human, ingeniously adapted to the extreme, inventive in the cold, and capable of organization, care, and symbolic thought. They endured for hundreds of thousands of years, in places where almost nothing else could. They were our neighbors, sometimes our companions, and in a very real way, they still walk beside us. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more stories from our deep past. See you next time.